they've changed because of positioning.
Oh, look out.
This is Brett Phillips, and he's just been hit by a 95 miles per hour fastball by pitcher Jorge Lopez. Now, there's a few ways to handle this situation. Most commonly, the player takes the pain and jogs over to first base. Sometimes there's an argument, but no actual fighting happens. Every once in a while, a brawl ensues, but usually there's some additional context. My favorite method is the one Chris Davis used, shattering the bat and staring down the pitcher. As for Brett Phillips, he used none of these methods, and it confused everyone around him.
Oh, look out. Phillips hit by that pitch, and
They mistook that. Phillips is having some fun, and
Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention is that Brett Phillips and Jorge Lopez are good friends, or in Lopez's words, they're like brothers. They spent time together in the Brewers organization before being traded together to the Royals for Mike Moustakas in 2018. He was one of my favorite teammates. Obviously, he didn't do that on purpose, and when I got hit, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have a little fun with this. At this point in 2021, Phillips wasn't having a good offensive season. Still, despite these struggles, he turned himself into a fan favorite. Although, fans of Phillips aren't limited to just one city. His playstyle and personality has earned him fans from across the entire country. And it's all thanks to one slogan: baseball is fun. Real quick, if you enjoy the video, consider subscribing to the channel for more content just like this.
And a nice big hand for Wilmer Flores as he comes to bat. Most of these fans know that Wilmer's about to get traded.
Near the 2015 trade deadline, it was reported mid-game that Mets infielder Wilmer Flores was part of a trade package for Brewers outfielder Carlos Gomez. Flores had been part of the Mets organization since he was 16 years old, and all it took was just a couple tweets to seemingly change his life forever. Baseball and sports in general are a cutthroat business, but rarely do fans witness this harsh reality. The pressure brought upon players due to the nature of the business is basically impossible to ignore. However, Brett Phillips is on a mission to combat this. He and his wife Bree created a company called Baseball is Fun, and here's the mission statement. The reason we started playing baseball is because it's fun. As I progressed through the minor leagues, I noticed players losing sight of the enjoyment this game brings. The business and the pressure can easily overshadow the excitement of the greatest game in the world. My ultimate goal with this company is to remind everyone why they started playing baseball in the first place. Now, I bring up the Flores situation not just as an example of the business side of baseball, but because Phillips was part of this situation too. The Flores-Gomez trade never actually went through, allowing the Astros to acquire Gomez instead. In return, the Brewers received 4 players, including future All-Star closer Josh Hader. Although Phillips was considered the prize of the deal, as he was seen as a top 50 prospect by many different publications. Over the next couple seasons, Phillips continued to play in the Brewers organization, but he started to gain recognition for an interesting reason: his laugh.
ground beef.
In spring training 2016, everyone was introduced to Brett Phillips and his laugh, so by the time he was called up in June 2017, Brewers fans were well aware of who he was. He only played 37 games, but a near 800 OPS season is solid. That is until you realize he had an unsustainable BABIP over 400 and an incredibly high strikeout rate. Nonetheless, his defense was his biggest strength. In fact, he once threw a ball to home plate at over 104 miles per hour, the hardest recorded throw by StatCast in 2017. Following the game, Phillips tweeted at MLB Pipeline asking if they could upgrade his 70 grade arm, which they did by maxing it out to an 80. Something else that Phillips was given in 2017 was a bobblehead night. Yes, a rookie had a bobblehead night. Well, kind of. It wasn't actually for the Brewers, it was for their AA affiliate, the Biloxi Shuckers. Back in 2016, following the final out of the top of the 9th, Phillips saw a possum on the warning track, and he decided to chase it down, which resulted in this bobblehead 1 year later. However, about 1 year following this bobblehead night, Phillips was traded along with Jorge Lopez to the Royals for Mike Moustakas, meaning Phillips could no longer play Fortnite on the Miller Park Jumbotron. Unfortunately, his short stint stints with the Royals were disappointing offensively. He was still a fan favorite due to his personality, but without an uptick in production, his Royals career could end sooner than expected. Well, to be fair, it kinda did. At the 2020 trade deadline, Phillips was traded to the playoff-bound Tampa Bay Rays, a dream scenario for Phillips. He was one of quite a few acquisitions the Rays made at the deadline, and while he wasn't brought in to be a consistent starter, no one could have predicted how impactful this trade would become. The Rays ended the season with the best record in the American League, but this meant there was little room for Phillips on the playoff roster. He played a half inning in the wildcard series, he was a bench player in the ALDS, and he was dropped from the ALCS roster. In response, he decided to showcase his coaching skills. Throughout the ALCS, he was writing things such as hit ball hard in Game 2, Randy Arozarena is better than your favorite player in Game 3, and after a game-tying home run by Arozarena in Game 4, Phillips held up a sign in celebration. When he pulled that out the other day, I thought it was awesome, said pitcher Ryan Yarbrough. Great teammate, great player. Just a guy who keeps it light in the dugout all the time. Always gonna have your back and always there to cheer you on. With the Rays winning the ALCS, Phillips was added to the World Series roster, but with little expectations apart from being a defensive specialist and pinch runner. In Game 2, he pinch ran in the 9th inning and ended the game in left field. This seemed to be the plan for Game 4 as well, as he was brought in to pinch run to try to tie the game in the 8th. But that plan failed. So, with the Rays needing to score in the bottom of the 9th to avoid a 3-1 series deficit, there was a real possibility Phillips would have an opportunity to hit. To be blunt, the last guy on the bench shouldn't be in a situation like this, especially a career .202 hitter with no base hits in nearly a month. But the thing about baseball is that in a situation like this, nothing else matters apart from what happens in the at-bat.
He's only batted 2 times in the entire postseason.
Yeah, he didn't even play in the ALCS. Jansen. That is into center field. Phillips has tied the game. Arozarena coming around. Throw hard. Now he stumbles. But the ball gets away. Tampa Bay wins it. Brett Phillips, Game 4 hero.
From sitting out in the ALCS to becoming a World Series hero, Phillips had produced one of the most iconic moments in recent World Series history. The craziness of this moment led to Phillips needing an IV due to having a resting heart rate of 140, and it's easy to understand why. He's a journeyman outfielder who had spent much of his career on the bench, yet he delivered under more pressure than most players ever experience. According to Leverage Index, which basically measures how much pressure there is in a specific plate appearance with a neutral situation represented as 1.0, this at-bat had a leverage index of 6.72. Now, in reality, plenty of at-bats have a leverage index like this. Throughout the 2020 regular season and postseason, 108 at-bats had a leverage index of at least 6.72. But the vast majority of these at-bats result in an out. And even the ones that do result in a run or a walk-off, none of them are in a situation as important as the potential final out of a World Series game. Among every postseason walk-off since 1903, the leverage index of Phillips's walk-off ranks 8th all-time. Unfortunately, the Rays weren't one of these World Series winning teams. Regardless, this is a moment that can't be taken away. It proves how it doesn't matter if you're a superstar or a bench player. Anyone who steps up to the plate is capable of producing a moment like this. That's the beauty of baseball. Or to put it more simply,
Man, baseball's fun. Wow.
in 2021, Phillips played his first full Major League season with the Rays, and it was the best of his career. The strikeout rate was concerning, but the combination of an average OPS plus and great defensive stats turned him into a 2+ WAR player. Also, he did something that was seemingly unachievable. Between June 29th and August 11th, in a span of only 19 plate appearances, Phillips hit 3 grand slams. Only 2 other players have hit 3 grand slams within a span of 20 plate appearances in the same season. Jim Northrup, and Lou Gehrig. Although, Phillips did something else just a few days after the last Grand Slam. He hit an inside-the-park home run. No one else in MLB history has hit 3 Grand Slams and an inside-the-park home run within a 30-game span. The only player who's close is Babe Ruth, who did it in a 36-game span in 1929. In response to these accomplishments, Phillips said, "That's what makes baseball so special, is that you can have a guy like Brett Phillips who comes off the bench and gets to play once or twice a week and does something that Lou Gehrig or Babe Ruth did. That's just because it's baseball, and it's the best game in the world." Speaking of Babe Ruth, Phillips also dabbled in becoming a two-way player. Well, for one game. But his unique delivery, 94 miles per hour fastball, and 47 miles per hour lobs made for one of the more entertaining position player pitching outings. In fact, in 2022, he pitched an additional 3 outings, including a 2-inning performance with one of the best catches you'll see from a pitcher. Although, on the flip side, his offensive regression led to a trade with the Orioles, and after playing in just 8 games, he was sent down to AAA for the rest of the season. He elected for free agency and signed a major league deal with the Angels, but according to Phillips, this was the only major league deal he was offered. Interestingly, he spent the offseason working with the same hitting coach who helped fix Taylor Ward's mechanics, who had a breakout 2022 season. So maybe Phillips can follow the same path. Regardless of what happens next, one thing that's for certain is that he will continue to spread his message around the league. I have one sentence for you. Baseball is fun. That is exactly what I'm trying to push. I'm just really trying to show other big leaguers, regardless of their status, whether they're a superstar or they're a bench player like me. It's okay to have fun. Enjoy yourself, because at the end of the day, when you're retired, no one's going to regret having too much fun. Now, I want to quickly share one more story. After Phillips was traded to the Orioles, he wanted to see one person before he left. Chloe Grimes, an 8-year-old softball player who's in her second battle with cancer. Phillips is Chloe's favorite player, and they met earlier in the season at a Rays game. They designed a glove together, and he wanted to make sure she received it before he left for Baltimore. Of all the things that were going through my mind, the #1 priority for me was making sure Chloe got her glove and that she was okay. Just another example of what makes Phillips so awesome. Oh, and speaking of awesome, in the game that Chloe attended, she was given the opportunity to throw the first pitch, watch the game with her softball team and family, and was interviewed while Phillips was at the plate. She talked about how Phillips is her favorite player because he has the best smile and is always having fun. She even gave him gifts before the game, such as a softball with his name on it, a personalized photo, a handwritten note, and a bracelet that read, "Rally for Chloe, our Princess Warrior." Phillips wore the bracelet during the game, and while Chloe and her mom were being interviewed, we got another example as to why baseball is fun.
They were there the first time. They come on the floor. They bring us coffee. Chloe